Graduate here at Snow College, trying to cope with the pressures of college and athletics, social life. No one ever said to me, if you're struggling, we can help you do better. And I wish they had. And it's not that I blame Snow College at all or that they failed me. In fact, Snow College served me so well on so many levels. And I felt the spirit of Snow in so many ways. I mostly blame myself. And I should have asked for help. But looking back, I'm not even sure I could articulate my struggles back then. And I'm not sure where I could have even started in understanding what support there might have been. And I feel like my experience in college is like so many of our current students. I was insecure, I was overwhelmed with information. Not even knowing which questions to ask. I was too timid or proud even to ask, and deeply, deeply fearing that I would appear uninformed or stupid in asking these kinds of questions. So when the fall semester began 3 weeks ago, we welcomed thousands of anxious but excited students to the Badger family. And they come to us carrying hopes and dreams and desire to change their lives in a positive way. And college will be hard for some, maybe even most, as they experience this different transition. And many will be insecure, fearful, overwhelmed, and confused to what resources might even be available to them. And on a fundamental level, they might not even know that there's a problem until it's too late for help. And then it can be devastating to their confidence as they try and dig out of a situation that could have been helped, but there was no feedback or advice until too late. So I encourage our faculty to provide early and regular feedback to students' progress. And too often I hear that students didn't know that they were failing until after midterm or much later in the semester, and it's too late to turn that around. And for staff, when we encounter flustered or frustrated, fearful students this year, please reach out to them, connect with them, and describe the resources that are there available. Show them how much Snow College cares about their success as a student. A little understanding and support and help from a faculty member or staff member can go a long way towards helping a student achieve their dreams, rather than leave the college with unfulfilled goals. I think you don't realize that it really makes a difference. We must think about how we can support our students and help them become a whole, happy, and successful person. I've long said that Snow College is the most caring community that I've ever been a part of. But what does that mean in the context of educating students? We often think that we're here to just relay content and information, but what the students are looking for is often the opportunity to change themselves. And as we think about what we each do every day, and when we build curriculum, we need to make sure that we're building to best support our students. Retaining students and ensuring their success is the job of every Snow College faculty and staff member, and not just those working in student or academic affairs. Our Board of Trustees met last week and ratified our new strategic plan, which places student success at the very top of our priorities. And we need to continually evaluate our retention rates, enhance our campus resources for students, and set unit and college plans for improving student success and retention. And I encourage you actually to define your own sort of personal plan for improving student success this year. Our job as faculty and staff is to give every student what they need to graduate and become successful alums. We're not just here to turn out degrees, but to actually make a difference in their lives, and to make sure that they're prepared to succeed academically, and then of course on to larger life. We have something very special here at Snow College. It's a community that cares and believes that it can be better. And as we step further into this new year, I ask that we all go above and beyond to help our students and show them that Snow College truly cares. So with that, I wanted to welcome everybody to another town hall. We're again 3 weeks into the semester, and so far things are going well. We'll have an update on COVID a little bit later. We'll have an update on our enrollment, but we really have kind of two primary themes that we'd like to focus on. One is really bringing in the student perspective on the academic year, and we'll welcome in a minute our student body president, Matt Griffin, who will say a few words to us in just a minute. The other thing that I would love to focus on today is, you may or may not know that it is Pedestrian Safety Month, and we have a lot to do when it comes to this, and it should worry us all, and we need to be all that much more vigilant. But we'll talk about pedestrian safety. We'll bring in some students that have been impacted directly by that. We'll also bring in one of our faculty members, Keith Stewart, that has also been helping us work out a plan for greater pedestrian safety across the campus. And then we'll finalize. We'll give you then the most updated report we have on COVID. Remember, this is a Q&A session. So as questions come to you, please publish those in the live event Q&A board. We will collect those and then sort of categorize them and get them to the right people that are also on this town hall. We want to welcome, as always, our interim provost Melanie Jenkins, our interim vice president for technical education Stacy McKiff, our vice president for administration and finance Carson Howell, our athletic director Rob Nielsen. We want to welcome Karen Johnson, who is also head of our CARES team, Josh Hales, our director of HR, Terry Clausen, our AVP for enrollment management, and then we'll also introduce Keith Stewart, and really two great guests that we have, Javin and Anisha Gurney. Welcome. I can see you too. Thank you for being with us today, and we'll bring you here in a second. Well, let me just start out with having Terry give us a quick update on where we are on enrollment, and then we'll start. Then we'll welcome President Matt Griffin to give us a student perspective. Terry.
Sure. So I'm going to go through this pretty quickly because I know time is of essence here. But I am really, really happy to report that as our numbers have come in, we still have a little bit of time to get a few more in, but we are up 6%, in our overall enrollment. And that, I have to say, our head count this year is in record-breaking numbers. We've never seen such high head count here at Snow College, and so I'm really, really thrilled with that. I have to thank everyone who has done their part in helping us reach those goals, and it has not been an easy road this year with all the crazy things that have happened. We no longer were able to go into schools and different things like that, but despite all of that, we were able to have a really successful fall entry class, and I'm super excited. So congratulations to everyone on that.
Well, thank you. Again, a deep appreciation for you, Terry, and your staff, everybody in the kind of enrollment management team, our recruiters, our admission staff, our registrar, registration staff, our financial aid staff. They have really been working very, very hard to make this happen. So thank you very much. So listen, let me introduce, well, actually I'm going to have President Matt Griffin introduce himself, but it has been really a pleasure to get to know Matt over the last few weeks with the beginning of his tenure as student body president. I'm very impressed with Matt. He's very articulate. He's bright. He's capable, very competent. He's a natural leader. But Matt, I think most of us might not know about your story. So do you want to fill us in?
Absolutely. I'm assuming you can hear me okay, is that right?
We can hear you, yeah.
Perfect. So like President Cook just mentioned, name is Matthew Griffin, and I was born and raised in Richfield, Utah, just about 50 minutes south of here. When I was serving as a missionary in the West Indies mission speaking French, my mom mentioned to me that it was my time just about to come home and it was time to start school. And I had absolutely no idea where to go. Because she is involved in education herself, she had brought plenty of her students over to Snow College, and she was a big Snow College fan. And because I wasn't too picky on where I was going, I thought it was a good idea because it was affordable, seemed like a great environment to be, and that's why I decided to come here to Snow College. And I'll be honest, my time here at Snow College has been so memorable. It has been the best 2 years academically that I have ever had in my entire life. And that's a big reason because of faculty. It's a big reason I feel like because of students and the overall community that surrounds Snow College. However, when I'm discussing today, we're discussing specific things. And the three things that I'm going to be talking about today is directed towards faculty. It's about how you can help students with COVID-19, how you can help students with pedestrian awareness, and then how you can help students overall. When I was thinking about how faculty can do more to help students with COVID-19, the biggest thing that they can do is be the example. No matter how much you think students may dislike you because of the tests you give or the bad jokes that you say during class, no matter what, they look up to you. And if you are discrediting, you're complaining about the precautions that Snow College is taking, it's going to make students' lives a lot harder. What students need right now more than anything is consistency. And if those that we look up to are not being consistent, that's going to make this experience a lot harder than it needs to be. And how you essentially be consistent is just follow the guidelines that are listed at Snow College. Wear a mask on campus, stay 6 feet away from people, and students will recognize that. COVID-19 brings in risks. Students' lives are at risk because of COVID-19. However, as we're recognizing with Pedestrian Awareness Month, so is walking on the streets. When I noticed what would help me better understand and better, I guess, be more aware of the danger of walking across the street and how faculty could help is having them talk about it. You know, it's amazing to me when I think of a teacher, a professor, or faculty member talk about something other than school. When they actually mention something that comes from their heart, an experience that they've had, or an opportunity that they've had to help another person, for example, involving pedestrian awareness, they have the attention of the entire room. And when they can express those kind of feelings towards students, it goes straight to the heart. So if any of you faculty members are curious on how you can help students, speak from the heart, be real with them, and express experiences that you've had in the past that have made you more aware, especially during Pedestrian Awareness Month. However, the last thing that I want to share probably is the most important in general on how faculty can help students. This brings me to when I've had experiences, and this has been multiple experiences over my entire life in education. It has to do with listening. Students, especially here in college, listen to lectures for 30 to 50 minutes of a teacher talking. And oftentimes a teacher will turn around after he knows he's discussed something that she may have discussed something that is very confusing, will look to the class and say, any questions? And because there's absolutely no response, the answer is, all right, let's move on. With COVID-19, pedestrian awareness, with education, students want to be heard, even when we're not even speaking. So if professors, faculty can actually listen to students, even when they're not talking, and listen to students, especially when they are talking, and helping better understand how they can help them, that very action of listening will go far beyond any other thing a teacher could do to help a student, not just with their education, but with our lives. And when we can involve our professors in our lives, we become academically sound, and the objective of Snow College is reached, which is exactly student success.
Thanks, Matt. I think that's terrific, terrific insight and advice. And I think sometimes we maybe underestimate our influence on students and how much they actually pay attention to what we say and what we do. And so, Matt, thank you so much. It's really good to be working with you this year on these issues, and really appreciate that. As Matt was talking, we know that this September is Pedestrian Awareness Month, and this becomes for us a very real issue in that every year for the past 5 years, we've had an accident, a pedestrian auto accident somewhere on our campus. And what's been explained to me is that it's usually around the summer equinox, right, where you have these west-east roads, and that whether it's in the morning or whether it's at night, when the sun gets low, it almost blinds drivers, and they can barely see. And I really want to thank Derek Walk and his officers for leading this Pedestrian Awareness Month campaign. They have been terrific. But I want to have there's two components here today. One is the student experience, right, or the pedestrian experience, and the other really is how we might approach it. And we're going to be bringing in one of our faculty members, Keith Stewart, to give us insight, as he's from part of our engineering program and has some insights. But it's really it's my honor really to introduce Javin and Anisha Gurney on our show today. And I got to know Javin and Anisha under really terrible circumstances, I have to say. Javin and Anisha have their own personal story as it relates to pedestrian safety. And so I'd like to introduce them, or actually have them introduce themselves, and then have them share their story of just last year as they ended up being on the wrong end of an auto pedestrian accident. So Javin, Anisha, Gurney, welcome. It's good to see you again. And so introduce yourself and tell us your story.
All right. So first of all, I'm Javin.
I'm Anisha.
And we are music majors. Anisha is in her senior year. Mm-hmm. So we've been here forever. But that's a good thing. And I'm like in the middle of my junior year. So last summer we got married on August 9th. And it was awesome. And we had like a week to go on our honeymoon, and then we came to school and we got settled in. We moved into an apartment. And then the first full week of school, it was a Monday morning, about 8:30 a.m. And we were walking across the crosswalk towards the Eccles from that parking lot. I'm sure you all know which one we're talking about. And there was a driver who was heading west, and they were just going to blow through the crosswalk because we hadn't reached that side of the road yet. You've seen people do this all the time. It happens quite often where they're like, okay, well, there's no pedestrians on my half, so I'm just going to go through before I get blocked off. So this person went through, and we paused in the middle of the road to let them go past. But as we were pausing, a car coming from the other direction had the sun in her eyes and didn't see us, and she hit us head on. And in the course of that collision, I got thrown over the side of the vehicle and landed on my back. And based off of the damage to the car and her injuries, we think that Anisha hit her head on the windshield and shattered it, and then rolled out into the road and hit the pavement, and the impact with the asphalt fractured her pelvis on the right side. So it was a little bit traumatic. And I want to recall to each of your minds, have you ever had a moment in your life where suddenly everything feels fragile and all the things that are comfortable and that you care about are on the line? That was that moment for me. I didn't lose consciousness. I remember with vivid detail everything that happened in those moments, and to stand up in the middle of the road and see my wife, who I'd been married to for 17 days, lying on the asphalt with blood on her face and screaming in pain was the most surreal and terrifying experience I've ever had. And the girl who hit us, it was a total accident. She was just a young freshman. It was like her second week of college ever, and she was absolutely hysterical. But we got rushed to the hospital, and I feel like I'm telling this whole story, so is there anything you want to interject?
Yeah, just it really was the craziest thing, because it really was an accident. You know, she wasn't speeding. She was only going 20 miles an hour. She wasn't on her phone. The sun really just was in her eyes, and because that other car blew through the crosswalk and we hesitated, you know, maybe a fraction of a second, we got hit. So I would just, I guess, really drive that home of, even in the best circumstances, I mean, we were on the crosswalk at a place, you know, where they know where pedestrians are. She was paying attention. Even in the best circumstances, accidents do happen. And since then, we have been really aware of, you know, how close people come to being in a similar situation, you know, when they're not on their crosswalks or when people are speeding. I ended up with a concussion and a fracture in my pelvis. And I was really, 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 really lucky that I didn't break anything else. And she was only going 20 miles an hour. It wouldn't be hard for a similar accident like that to possibly be fatal. You know, if she was just going 10 more miles an hour, it could have been a lot worse. So we're very, very lucky, and we've been very blessed, and Snow's been really great to, you know, support us and take care of us. But we don't want anybody else have to go through that. A lot of good things came from it, but it's not something I would recommend. Mm-hmm.
And we are happy to say that we are both fully recovered as far as we are aware. But we would definitely like to see some changes in the attitudes of the pedestrians and the drivers around campus, and maybe even the layout of the roads, which I know there are limitations on, but that's something that we are obviously really passionate about now. And I've been on the pedestrian side and the driver's side since then on those roads, and oh my goodness, there are so many pedestrians that have no idea how dangerous their situation is, and there are so many drivers that don't realize how dangerous their vehicles can be. I think that's all we want to say. Mm-hmm. So unless anyone has any questions for us, thank you for letting us be here.
Well, thanks, Javin and Anisha. And it's so good to know that you're have recovered. It could have been so different, and it really brings home to us, to me, about how real this is. Again, just 20 miles an hour, the kind of damage it does to the human body. And so many of our students and those of us that are walking around don't aren't conscious of how quickly life can turn on a dime. And I'm with you, Javin, that it's scary to drive around. I will avoid campus at night. I will drive through the neighborhoods to get home because, you know, people are darting across the road in dark clothes and it's just not well lit. And so we have so much work to do. And as a part of that, we brought in UDOT, which is the Utah Department of Office of Transportation, which does have the overall authority when it comes to things like crosswalks and lights and traffic patterns and, you know, pedestrian patterns. but we are really actually quite lucky to have Keith Stewart, part of our engineering faculty, to help us work out a broader plan with UDOT. And so, Keith, would you mind coming in on this conversation? Introduce yourself, if you would, please, and then talk a little bit about your working with UDOT, how you're involving some of our students, and then really what you can tell us about our plans for the future.
Sure, yeah. Yeah, well, thanks for having me to participate in this conversation. It's really important. And Javin and Anisha, when I got word last year of your accident, that was one of the first things that came to my mind is what can we do, whether it's me or anyone else on campus, what can we do to try and prevent that from ever happening again, right? So again, thank you for sharing your story, and it's great to hear that you guys have recovered and that you can be part of this pressure and movement to try and improve things on campus. So real quick, my name's Keith Stewart. I am in the engineering department. Before coming to Snow College, I worked for 19 years in civil and structural and transportation engineering. So before making the switch to academics, I had the chance to work on a lot of engineering projects, including some with the Utah Department of Transportation and with cities and with university campuses. And so I felt like this would be easy for me to try and get some involvement and see what I could do to help. So last April, I was talking to the Department of Transportation to say, hey, what could we do as an engineering department with our students to try and help find some solutions to improve the pedestrian safety on campus? And it was perfect timing because they were just about to have their first meeting with a program that they call Move Utah. And Snow College was selected to be part of that program. The goal is to help pedestrians and bicyclists and motor passengers, those that are driving and those that are passengers in the cars. It's to help everyone get to where they want to go better and to do it safer. And so we've had several meetings over the summer and trying to pinpoint what should our goals be to improve campus. And so it's been a treat to be part of that. And my ultimate goal is to try and help our engineering students and any other student that wants to be involved to be part of the solution so they can see how this process really works, see what the data looks like, and how do you implement real change and real improvements. So we've met several times, and that's been a collaboration with the Department of Transportation, the City of Ephraim, Snow College, and Public Safety Department here on campus. And so I've been lucky to be part of that and to be part of the planning. To let you know what we're doing right now, we're kind of at the phase where we need to find out what's the behavior on campus with those that are not only driving, but also those that are pedestrians that are crossing the street. So our plan right now is to do a pedestrian survey. So we're going to go out and we're going to count how many pedestrians are crossing the street at various times throughout the day. So I got some data from the administrative offices on our enrollment and class sizes at different times of the day, and we've kind of narrowed down where we want to do our study and what times of the day. And then we'll be making those counts here in the month of September. The beautiful part of this is that we will have students helping to do all of this research. And I have a Engineering 1000 class. It's Introduction to Engineering. And that class this semester is a service learning class. And so part of their service can be to participate in projects like this. So I have 48 students that are all looking to find about 3 hours of service to do this semester. So I have lots of helpers, and hopefully they'll learn through the experience. So that's the current plan. We're trying to get the data. How many students are crossing the street? where are they crossing, and we're going to focus on about 9 different locations on campus. The streets that go around campus are all owned by the Department of Transportation. So that's why we have their involvement on this. And so we need to follow certain steps and demonstrate certain levels of pedestrian activity in order to kind of keep the ball rolling and proceed with getting UDOT to install some safety improvements. Right now, we're looking at anything from like putting new signs out to help guide students to the right place to cross, to doing signaled crosswalk intersections. So you'd have lights on poles that are up above, and when someone's crossing the road, those will flash bright yellow and alert drivers that there's someone in the intersection. And then like kind of the big solutions might be physically changing the layout of the intersection and trying to make the distance that pedestrians are crossing, make that shorter, and having these little bump outs that come in where there's usually street parking, so that they have a shorter distance. Usually putting those little narrow spots in, it tends to cause cars to slow down as well. They get a little uncomfortable when the street gets narrow, and naturally they'll slow down. So these are some of the things that we're working on. But again, we're hoping to get some changes done pretty quickly, find the least expensive, biggest impact improvements, do those first, and then study maybe some bigger ones a little bit further down the road. But the goal is, again, keep our students involved and let them be part of the solution, because they'll learn all sorts of great experience with engineering and traffic, pedestrians, by being part of that. So that's kind of where we're at on this right now.
It seems like not only a very pragmatic exercise, but it gives students a really rich experiential learning, real life problem to work on. So thank you. And if there are any questions, there is one question about, is there anything like this happening on the Richfield campus? And I'm not aware of anything unless you are, Keith, but my sense is that the more immediate sort of urgency is really here in the Ephraim campus. I'm not sure that the Richfield campus has the same kind of crosswalk challenges, but maybe Keith, do you know anything about that?
You know, I'm not aware. That hasn't come up in any of our meetings. It could also be part of kind of how we're situated, and we're surrounded by roads that are owned by UDOT, which has kind of moved us maybe up higher on a priority list. But it also has to do with the number of accidents that they've had here. So that's my understanding. The focus is primarily just the Ephraim campus. I haven't heard of any conversations for improvements in Richfield, but I would guess that whatever we come up with here could be duplicated down there pretty easily.
Some might ask, Keith, you know, why doesn't the college just do this on their own? I mean, if they know that, you know, if we could restripe the street, if we could put lights in, why don't we just do it? What's your response to that?
You know, part of the challenge is that those roads are owned and maintained by UDOT. So it's a blessing and a curse. The blessing is they pay for them, they maintain them, they plow them in the winter, they patch holes, they restripe them. And that's, you know, a state funding source that doesn't necessarily come directly from the college. The challenge, though, is that to make these improvements, you do have to kind of check the boxes and follow their rules. We have to show the numbers. We need to show that there's a need for it. The good thing, though, is that my understanding is being part of this Move Utah program and having the support with the Region 4 director and maintenance groups, they're willing to make some of these changes faster and try and allocate some funding for that. Maybe even in circumstances where we don't have enough numbers to prove that we need, you know, X number of signalized pedestrian crosswalks. I think they're saying, look, this is a high priority. Students are our biggest asset here, and we want to make sure we protect them. So they're willing to make some bigger changes and fund those. But again, the challenge is we have to go through the process. So before they can install signaled crosswalks, we have to have this study first. We have to make sure it's warranted, and then go through their process of ordering them, having them engineered, and having them installed. So it takes some time. I think for me, I'm a little bit impatient of a person sometimes. So I'm trying to help find things we can do on campus that we can do on our own without needing UDOT's blessing. Whether it's putting signs up on the sidewalks to help students find the best place to cross, discourage them from crossing outside of the crosswalk, and messaging, safety campaigns. These are things that we can do without having to wait on, you know, a UDOT process that takes a little longer.
I would just also encourage those that are listening to us to assume two things. If you're a pedestrian, assume the car doesn't see you. Assume that. Rather than I've seen pedestrians just sort of stroll out, and sadly, you know, if someone's on their phone, or you know, it just can end badly for the pedestrian. But also assume that as you're a driver, that students could jump out at any moment, right? So it needs to be slow down. Pedestrians have the right of way. You know, let's not have any sort of confusion about that when it comes to, and you can be mad at someone who might be jaywalking, but on the road with your car is not the way to settle that. Be very. We need to take care of each other, and part of that is going slow around campus at night. Especially be careful, but just assume that people aren't seeing you, and we've got to take ownership of that. Before we move on, is there, you know, does Javin and Anisha, you know, does you know, Matt and anybody else have questions about this? I think it's got to be studied clearly, but it is a high priority for the campus to make sure that we're being safe. But Javin and Anisha, you're probably the most kind of informed on these issues, and the most motivated because you've seen what can happen. Any questions for us or Professor Stewart?
I have a question, but I also have a comment, if that's appropriate.
Of course.
Yeah. I think another part of the issue is because Snow College has such a high turnover of students, of new incoming freshmen. I think a lot of students just are completely unaware of the danger of this because it hasn't happened this current semester. I feel like it would be really beneficial for somehow there to be some kind of meeting or something sent out to the students where they are told about what happened to us and about these dangers, and we would be totally willing to help with that however we could. And I guess that leads into my question and our question of, we want to be involved, we want to increase awareness of this, and we are willing to put ourselves out there and to speak or to be a reference point or whatever we can to help this cause. How best can we do that, and how best can we support you guys in actually making some changes?
That's terrific that you're willing to really be a spokesperson for this, and maybe we can bring in sort of Matt on this as well in terms of what can the student leaders do in addition to the broader college administration about messaging and sort of awareness. Any thoughts there, Matt?
I would guess the main thoughts that I would have on that, the first step that we need to take is make students aware that it is an issue, because although like pedestrian awareness is something big, we don't hear about it nearly as often as we should. And even though we're having the month separated towards it, just seeing maybe one sign by a crosswalk isn't really, in my opinion, getting the word out. Like, we need to get students talking about this. And if we can hear about their story, that's something that, I mean, everyone that was listening, boy, that was very interesting and very horrifying. So that's something that could help students realize, okay, this actually is a bigger deal than just an A-frame in front of a crosswalk, in my opinion.
I'm getting a message here that in 3 weeks, the SBOs and the business club in the past 2 weeks have been handing out cookies relative to this with the messaging on it. I think that's a good start. I think social media continues to be something we ought to harness as well. But if there are any other comments or thoughts, Jevin and Anisha and Matt or Keith, what might they be now before we move on to the agenda?
Well, this is Keith. I might just add, for Jevin and Anisha, I'd love to have you participate in the next meeting that we have with the Move Utah team for our campus and tell your story. And I think if anything, if it can create a larger sense of urgency for everyone that's in that meeting, I think things will happen faster. And I think that would be great if you could share that with everyone at the meeting. So I'll be in touch.
Yeah, we would be more than willing to help.
There was a suggestion by one of our listeners saying, could we put that story in the Snowdrift, right, in our campus newspaper? I think that's a terrific suggestion to be able to get Anisha and Gavin's story in there, as well as a broader campaign. One other person has recommended that maybe we make this a convocation opportunity. So those are terrific suggestions. Well, listen, thank you so much for being a part of this, everyone. I would like to sort of move on to the COVID report, and I'd like to bring in Rob and Karen to give us the latest numbers on our COVID and our COVID care team strategy. So welcome, Rob, and welcome, Karen. I think you're on mute.
Karen's been a big part of making COVID care team work, and she has the numbers today. So I'm going to turn it over to her and let her give you the numbers. And if you have questions, either one of us can answer them.
Great. Hi, Karen.
Hey, how are you?
Hey, it looks cold where you are. Good.
You like this backdrop, huh?
Put on your coat. Yeah.
I think I have the best office in campus. I do want to give you a little update. I am part of the COVID care team here. Since the beginning of school, we have dealt with approximately 65 different COVID related issues. Of that, only 11 have been positive cases. 5 of those have recovered, and we have a current count of 6 COVID cases. Not all of those COVID cases are on campus. Some of these have gone home or are in different areas. We are currently monitoring between 20 and 25-ish other cases. Most of these cases are either waiting test results or are quarantined due to close contact or have tested negative, but they're kind of monitoring their symptoms. We just want you to know that the COVID care team has a plan in place, and it's a good plan, and it seems to be working. It seems that of these 65 cases, most of these have been student cases, and we have been able to help these students through their illness or through their quarantine and help them stay caught up in their classes and to be able to continue in school. I do want to give a shout out to all of our faculty members. They have been so good to work with these students and to make sure that they have access to what they need when they haven't been able to come to class. I do want to give a shout out to the students too. I feel like they have been doing a good job in being responsible and wearing their masks and reporting issues when they have them.
Thank you, Karen, and really, thanks everybody. Really, part of the COVID cares team that really rally right when students are feeling scared and vulnerable and physically not great. So thank you very much. And I don't know if there how many COVID care team members that you have, but how many would you say are working on this with you?
I think there are about 8 of us working on the COVID care team.
Good. Well, yesterday, I'm a part of a statewide COVID task force that includes all the other institutions in the state, including BYU. And I'll just say I'm just glad we're not in Utah County. BYU has 200 plus positive COVID cases, and again, most of this is due to off-campus activities that that just can get out of hand. And again, this is just a word of caution to our students and to faculty and staff that often we can let our guard down once we're away from campus. I think by and large, everybody is doing super well with their masks and social distancing and keeping their hands clean and all of that while on campus. But it's after hours that is worrisome. We're still working on trying to get some saliva tests, which there's a much faster turnaround time, and we're still working on those. We don't have those just yet, but that would be helpful. That we could do some spot testing with volunteers and others to kind of identify those that might have they may be asymptomatic. But anything else, Karen, Rob, that you might want the campus to know? And then again, listeners, are there questions that we can pose to some of our direct line folks here?
I just want students to know that they don't need to be afraid to report, and that reporting is something so that we can give you the tools to help you out. We want to be able to help you through the situation rather than you trying to figure it out on your own. We want to give you the tools and the resources so that you can still be successful in school.
Remember, we're really encouraging everybody to also download the Healthy Together app and continue to kind of use that. I mean, there needs to be really a critical mass of users with the Healthy Together app in order for it to really be effective here. So continue to stay on that and update that app. Really, just a reminder, our goal really is to stay face-to-face. 93% of our courses, our sections are face-to-face. There's not another campus in the state that can remotely compare to that, and that is a good thing. We know this is critical for our students' success. It's not that they can't learn in terms of the remote learning, but we know that they prefer it, and we know that what we aren't talking a lot about, or enough about anyway, is the social isolation that comes along with remote learning. So let's continue to mask up, be careful, so that our students and we can continue to be together. You may have seen that Sevier County is green, Sanpete is yellow. I think maybe even Paiute and Wayne are green as well. But we've taken a position that no matter even at the Richfield campus, we're maintaining a required mask position and doing all those things that we've committed to. We can never be sort of over, I think, careful here, and so even though Sevier County is green, we're actually still holding to our original position on COVID safety. Any questions from the listeners, and any other sort of comments from our panel? Well, we have sort of an unusual, not a lot of questions today, and I don't know if that's a good or bad, but this part of one of the primary purposes of this is to get sort of an interchange and exchange between our campus members and campus community with key leaders on campus. While we're kind of waiting for any questions related to pedestrian awareness, questions related to our students and student leadership, or on COVID, we're going to be focusing next time we meet on and next time we'll meet will be September 29th on the town hall, and we'll be focusing on accreditation. And the reason for that is that we have our accreditation team from Northwest that will be reviewing our self-study and then spending time working with us to really help us be reaccredited. A lot of work has gone into this accreditation self-study. Becky Hermanson being sort of really primary in this. Thank you, Becky, for your incredible, I think, focus and commitment to this. Melanie Jenkins and others that have been editors and readers of this study. And one of the things we'll sort of emphasize next time we meet are what are some of the things basic things that we all should be aware of when this team meets with us. One of them is be familiar with our mission. We should all be familiar with our mission in any case. But so anyway, that'll be a primary topic for next time. We'll continue to sort of update you on COVID. We'll continue to update on things as they emerge organizationally, as well as if there are questions related to our budgets. Or anything else that you might have on your mind. While we're waiting, I also want to recognize that we've had several of our faculty and staff. They had an opportunity for an early retirement due to our budget strategy, and this is good news that we can be able to work with our faculty and staff where they're maybe close to retirement and allow them to go on to other things that they want to do in their life. We will recognize our retirees on Founders Day, which is November 5th, and details will come on that, but we want to make sure that we're honoring and recognizing those that have spent much of their career, and in some cases of their entire career, to Snow College. And really, Snow College is really merely really a compilation of thousands of people who have contributed their lives to create such an incredible campus. And those that are retiring this year are no less important to the legacy that Snow College has become. So with that, I might want to just ask maybe Stacy McKiff to give us a quick update on our Learn and Work efforts. And again, to remind you that even staff members and faculty members, if there's some of this training that you're interested in doing, talk to Stacy. But Stacy, how are we doing on the Learn and Work program? You may want to just remind people what that is. I think you're on mute, Stacy.
Okay, it's tricking me. All right.
There we go. There we go.
So probably most of you know about the Learn and Work program that we've been executing with the great help of faculty leaders and also people from the admissions and registration advising offices. So we have 10 programs that we're working on right now. Most of them are full, but some are not. So if any of you are interested in doing the cybersecurity program, sign up today. Go to the website, look up Learn and Work program on Snow's website. We also have some openings in the Essential GIS program. And so most of the others are full. We have 85 people in the data analytics program, and I know some people around campus are taking that program right now. So take advantage of this opportunity. Tuition free, books are free, all supplies are free. We have laptops to check out. So it's a great opportunity for anyone you know, or even any of you who might be interested in those programs. Thank you.
Thank you, Stacy. Appreciate that. And maybe we can bring Provost Jenkins in for a moment and see if there's just kind of update. She works with the Faculty Senate and works with our Dean's Council and the administration. What are some of the priorities that Academic Affairs is working on at the moment?
Great question. All of the committees right now are having conversations about what are our goals for the year, what do we want to accomplish, and I've been meeting with chairs of committees to talk some of those through. And as the central theme seems to be, what can we do as faculty to create a more inclusive environment for our students? So we really are pushing that initiative, and everybody's taking it to heart. And I think we're going to see some significant changes moving forward as we talk about inclusivity and diversity on this campus. The other thing that I feel like maybe I should report for our Dean of Students, he's crafting an email right now, but we've had fewer than 20 disciplinary emails sent out about mask wearing. So our students have really stepped up to the challenge. They're wearing their masks, they're doing what we asked them to do. And I wanted to reiterate what Matt said earlier and just say, if we model this for them, if we keep encouraging them, I think that we'll have luck this semester. We've already made it more days than many schools, so.
Well, thank you, Melanie. Appreciate that. The Academic Affairs and other divisions are working so hard to meet our needs of our students and really kind of dig deep on high impact practices to continue to have the rich learning environments that Snow College is long known for. So listen, well, with that, I think we're at the top of the hour now, and so unless there are any other questions, I think we're going to start winding down. Again, we continue to welcome your feedback and your ideas for our town halls. Continue to sort of monitor our COVID website. We have a daily tracker on COVID cases and active cases. And a 7-day rolling average. We also keep track of the hospital beds in our region because that's really an important piece of this is whether we're managing this pandemic in a way that doesn't overwhelm our healthcare system. But on the sort of encouraging front, we recently had one of our congressional leaders here, Chris Stewart, who was on campus, who did say that a vaccine is on the way for late fall, which we're guessing is probably November, December. That's very encouraging because that may mean then that going into spring semester, we may have a little more protection and reassurance about that. Any other thoughts on COVID? Karen or anybody else that's been working with us on these issues. Karen, anything else?
Nope, I'd just like to reiterate that you're doing a good job. If you can keep the students reporting any symptoms that they have, if you as a faculty member receive an email and you're not sure about if the student's receiving your help or not, go ahead and you can forward that to me and we can check into it and make sure. We just want to make sure these students are getting the help that they need.
Terrific. Well, listen, thank you so much for everybody participating, particularly our student participants today. Again, I really appreciate the colleagues that I work with every day. Feel very, very grateful for their commitment. And really, again, just so grateful every day, really, to be a part of Snow College. It really is. It truly continues to be an honor of a lifetime, and just flat out enjoyable as we try and do some good in the world, as we try to do some make a difference in the lives of our students. So with that, we'll sign off for now, but continue to let us know how we can better serve you, how we can better serve our students. And our emails, all of us, our emails are open to you. Our doors are open to you, and we really are here to serve. So thanks again for your time and attention, and until we meet next time, take care of each other. Thank you.